Hello, so quite recently I got into Moon Knight, and I don't really know too much about him, or well, knew too much about him, but I picked up this Marvel Legends figure here, and I started reading the run where he first got that costume. I think it's also the first run where Mr. Knight is a, like an alias for him, so that was pretty cool. But I did watch the Disney Plus show, and I kinda liked it. Well, there were some things I didn't like some things were a little bit too goofy, like the whole Mr. Knight thing and Stephen Grant, and I could do without that. But Khonshu was perfect. He was voiced by F. Murray Abraham, and he was just incredible. It was perfect. And I decided to pick up the Marvel Legends Bath figure. It was kind of pricey, but it was alright. It was like $100 or something. And I decided to give him a little paint job, because I think that, there is some paint on him, but a lot of it is just cast plastic. So I'm gonna start Agrax earth shading him up, and then we're gonna do a whole bunch of dry brushing, and hopefully it's gonna look awesome. I'm also gonna detail the head a little bit, because I feel like the head is a little bit plain, even though the wash in here is pretty nice. But yeah, we'll see what we can do. So a minor issue filming this is that Khonshu here is huge. He's absolutely massive, and it's a little bit hard to kind of get all of him in frame. So I'm gonna have to do it from a little bit of a distance. But I got some Agrax earth shade here and my big shade brush, and I'm just gonna dip it in like so, and then we're gonna have the shade go all over the leg like this. And I sincerely hope the Agrax Earthshade is the right paint for this job, but I think so, because Agrax Earthshade is a very kind of neutral, dirty looking color. Like, it works a whole lot better than black. Hopefully with all the kind of white and beige dry brushes we're gonna do after that, he's gonna look incredible. It's a bit weird how paint seems to like kind of disintegrate. I don't really know what's up with that. But you see this here, how it just goes into the grooves, so it's beautiful. Paint washing is not really my favorite, because I find it a little bit hard to control. But the next step, which is going to be just dry brushing, is something I really enjoy doing. It takes pretty much zero skill to do a basic dry brush job, but it always comes out looking really good. So if you're nervous about how things are going to turn out, just put a little bit of paint on your brush and give everything a nice little dry brush after putting a wash on it. It's gonna look just as good as anyone else, really. I'm not really sure what these like splotches of darker paint on him are supposed to be. If they're supposed to be like dirt, or if it's like an actual pattern. Okay, so with the wash now dry comes the fun part. So I got some Flayed One flesh here, and it's just kind of like a nice beige. And I'm gonna do quite a heavy dry brush, and I'm just going to see where I land, because I'm not really sure. So, and I'm going to go down a little bit in the crevices too, because the wash is a little bit dark. Actually, I think I might be able to go a little heavier. These parts here that are naturally quite a lot darker because the wash has seeped in there, even if I just kind of dust over with the dry brush, it stays noticeably darker. Even if I dry brush the same amount on literally everything, it's still gonna look darker in the recessed areas. So, moment of truth. Oh. You see how all the details suddenly just get highlighted? Oh, this is awesome. It doesn't look quite perfect, but we'll get there. I'll see first what it looks like with a consistent layer on top. Also a brighter shade. You see all this detail here? This was completely lost prior. I might have to repaint this golden moon though. So this bit here in the middle, the wash kind of got lost here, so I'm gonna put some manual wash on specifically here and just see what happens. I think just the details kind of waver here a little bit. Okay, so I'm doing a very light wash here where I'm just kind of dotting on, like you see, like here's a dark spot. You see how it just kind of pulls, but it's so washed out that I don't really think it's gonna be solid at all. Like the coverage isn't gonna be good at all, and it's just going to kind of tint everything. So I'm just kind of letting it lay in these grooves for a while, and then I'm going to just wipe it away with like a paper towel or something, and maybe, like my idea is maybe it will tint it slightly brighter. So just like that, and just gonna push. I feel like this has toned down the shade. Like I remember this spot here being really strong earlier, and now it's still darker, but it's very translucent. I do like the kind of like almost brownish texture of like all the brownish wrinkles on it though, so I'm gonna keep those. I'm gonna go back to this thing here and try to detail it up a little bit with a dry brush, and I might as well just do that right now actually. I kind of want the outer edges of this to be a bit darker. I'm going to use the Agrex Earth shade here again and just kind of go along the edges. So I'm not really 100% on the color, so I have some white with, it's like 95% white and like 5% blue, just to like make it a little bit cooler. But I'm going to see what a dry brush of it does. I think it's just gonna brighten up everything just like a little bit. If anything, this third color adds just like one more small layer of depth to everything. So before I detail up the head, which is kind of the part I'm looking forward to the most, I'm going to just get rid of this completely drab, just so boring, pure silver, whatever this is. What do you even call this? Like his belt buckle? So what I'm doing now is I'm just adding a wash of Nuln oil, which is just Citadel's black wash. And I'm going to be quite heavy on it because I'm going to dry brush some vibrant silver paint on top of it. Something like that. And now we're gonna have to wait for this to dry, which is gonna take a while. Oh, right, so it's been like an hour and a half or so, and now the wash has dried, and you can see how nicely it has like set in all the little cracks. But now we're gonna do a little dry brush to bring back some of the shine. You gotta be careful not to get it into the actual grooves that we just worked so hard to darken. Get some nice little detail work here. It doesn't look as cheap anymore. Perfect. So now I'm gonna do some detailing on the gold, because as you can see here, I was scratching off some like big paint glob that was on the gold, like from the factory, and it just kind of came off completely. So I'm gonna go in with some Retributor armor. It's a little bit of a darker gold, but I really like just how it looks. And I think I have some brighter golds I can put on top to create some highlights. Maybe I don't want to, because I quite like this. Maybe I'll do like a little edge highlight of a brighter gold, but I quite like how this pops. Like it really, really pops. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of highlighting with some Vallejo gold. And this is quite a bit of a brighter gold. So I'm not really quite sure what it's going to look like, but I figured we could just do this kind of edge here. Don't even know if this is like taking properly. I could also mix in a little bit of silver. So mixing metallics is usually a little bit of a gamble, because it doesn't usually turn out the way you think it it's gonna turn out. Like, you'd figure silver is just kind of like grey, but I don't know, there's something kind of inconsistent about it. But this seems to look pretty good. It's definitely paler. I don't know how well you can tell in the camera because you know the light reflection and stuff, but you can definitely see here that the sheen is a little bit different. So we're gonna detail up Khonshu's head here. So the skull is pretty well painted by default. It's got this really nice dark brown wash in all the little grooves and stuff, but this bit here I'm not a big fan of. It looks a little bit too artificially, just like there's a clear line here where this kind of like beige color stops. So let's see if this magic eraser will do anything. It doesn't look like it actually is. So a mix of flayed one flesh and just white, and we'll see where we are. This is a pretty decent match. Just kind of sloppily dry brushing over the entire thing, but you can see it's slowly disappearing. And it's fine because we're gonna do some actual painting on the tip of the beak as well. Much more natural transition here, but we will darken it quite a bit, and I want to do some lines, like some cool little lines here. So I think we're gonna go in with, why don't we try the Agrax Earth shade again? So we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do another dry brush of that same kind of beige-ish color. So I want to do, I'm looking at some reference pictures, and I want to do like some, just like straight lines. Might be a bit difficult with a wash, but so now we're gonna do some straight lines here, just to kind of make the transition a little less harsh. I quite like how this looks. Maybe a little bit too harsh up here. Can soften that up with some of that white. Like, you just want to kind of create the illusion that this is a bone texture with like some minor cracks and grooves in it, rather than this completely smooth plastic. Okay, so you can see here, I think the beak transition is a lot better now, but I do want to just kind of darken the eyes a little bit. So I have some paint on my brush here, not too much, but just enough to kind of be able to swirl it around and get the majority darker. It's kind of like a dry brush, kinda, but it's a completely wrong brush for it. And the reason why I'm simply not doing a paint wash is because a paint wash excels at going into like grooves and stuff, but this is such a large kind of hole where I want everything to just kind of be like filled with black, and it just doesn't really work. But like the outer edges can still be a little bit brown, because it kind of gets a little gradient effect in here. I'm also gonna do this like little nose hole. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied, but I want to just go over him one more time with kind of like a very light beige/white dry brush, just to brighten him up a little bit. Not really sure how much this actually shows, but And with that, Khonshu is finished, and I know this video was like 90% just dry brushing, but I thoroughly enjoyed every single second of dry brushing this guy, and I think he turned out great. I can see the argument that the grooves and little crevices are a little bit too dark, but it's also, I really like that kind of style when like the contrast is quite noticeable. And overall, I think he looks fantastic. It's definitely better than the original figure regardless. And I really liked the original figure when I got him at first, but I don't know. I think he turned out great. I'm also really, really happy with the head. I think everything, like making the eyes darker and like little, I don't know, nose holes, I guess, and making the gradient at the tip of the beak a lot more subtle really helps with the look. Anyway, regardless if you like him or not, I hope you enjoyed the video, and Happy New Year!
I am the god Khonshu. Do you swear to protect the travelers of the light and bring my vengeance to those who would do them harm? Rise and live again as my fist of vengeance, as my Moon Knight. Kill him! Break his windpipe!